meeting? Are we okay? Yep. Okay, this meeting is now open. Okay, first thing I'm gonna do is call to order, roll call, and determination of a quorum.
Chair Pulitz.
Thing we'll do is do the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think we should ask our newest board member, Michaela, to lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Michaela. I'm assuming that all board members had a chance to review the minutes of the past meeting of the Airport Authority, unless I hear something different. If that's the case, would someone want to move to approve the minutes?
Also moved.
Okay, Michael Golden moved. A second? Harlow, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, it passes. Okay, the chairman reserves the right to modify the agenda in order to most effectively process the agenda items. Items may be taken out of order. Items may be combined for consideration by the authority. Items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Members of the public who wish to address the airport authority may speak on agendized and non-agendized matters related to the airport. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person or topic. If your item requires extended discussion, please request the chairman to calendar that matter for future airport authority meeting. Now, the public may provide public comment in advance by a meeting in writing submission to the following email address, manager@flycarsoncity.com, for inclusion or reference in the minutes of the meeting. Your public comment must include full name and address and must be submitted via email by not later than 5 p.m. the day before the meeting. The Carson City Airport Authority values your input. Members of the public who wish to provide live public comment may do so during the designated public comment periods indicated on the agenda in person. Next, I'd like to go ahead and I'd like to ask for the airport engineer's report.
All right, for the record, Brian Martinez-Molas, Wood Rogers. Not a ton to report this month. Been working with the airport manager on some construction activities happening with some development on site and supporting him as much as I can there. And then in addition, we're just working side by side with the airport planning firm to help push the CADXs forward for the upcoming projects for next year. So that's all I really have to report this month.
Thanks, Brian. Any questions for Brian? Nope. None. Okay, thank you. I assume we don't have anything from Nadine.
No, I do have a couple of things I can report for.
Please do.
So the snow removal equipment building, we are working through the permit process for that. I just got some updated information right before this meeting here. We do have to resubmit for the special use permit because the original expired. That would normally put us back to December before we could have that meeting, but the city is working with us and we're going to try to get us on the meeting this month. So I want to thank the city for making that happen for us. That does mean that we're really going to be cutting it close to try to get any dirt moved for that building for the winter, but since we're going to get that in this month, we may be able to do something with the foundation, and the general contractor is looking in to see if there's any chance of us getting a foundation down before the hard winter hits us. We're also going to be receiving the snowplow this month, towards the end of the month, and the plow will be delivered and the manufacturer will have representatives present to train staff on how to operate it and help unload it and go through the whole thing. Armstrong will also be there to go through and make sure everything is to spec, that they spec'd out. And that is all that I have for Armstrong.
Thanks, Corey. Any questions about that for Corey? If not, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. I'm assuming that all the board members have had a chance to review the consent agenda items that we have brought before us. That being said, can I hear a motion from someone on the board to approve those initiatives?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as written.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, consent agenda passes. All right. Next, we're going to move on to public hearings. The first item is for discussion. We'd like to thank the Open House Committee for their work in planning the 2023 and 2024 Aviation Festival and Open House. I'm going to pass this on to Corey.
All right, thank you. So this item, I wanted to make sure this got on the agenda because the Planning Committee has dedicated a significant amount of time and effort into making the Aviation Festival and Open House possible and an improving success year over year. The makeup of the committee is going to be changing for next year, so I wanted to make sure that we recognize the members of the committee that have been mostly the same for the past 2 years. Not all of the members were able to make it today, so I'm going to go ahead and list off all the members now, and then we will follow that up, inviting the members that showed up today to join the board in front of the podium here to take a picture with the Airport Authority. So Robert Grant was the chair of the Planning Committee. Trish Jones was the secretary treasurer. Mike Ziba was the military liaison. Catherine Barron, who's here today, was the volunteers and sanitation manager. And I lost my place. And Rick Lee was airport facilities ramp supervisor. Dayton Murdoch managed the static displays and managed the ramp. Kevin Updegrove was responsible for sponsorships. Luz Sandoval was responsible for the youth activities. Matt Brubach was marketing and also got the Nevada Jeep Club out there with all the Jeeps to help us manage the crowds, which worked out great. Phil Wells is a member from the Civil Air Patrol. Larry Jones and Sydney O'Neill were also members of the Planning Committee. So if the board would please leave your seats and step in front of the podium, and would the members of the Planning Committee who showed up please step up.
Well, as you all know, we really appreciate the volunteer effort. That was a great event. The airport, you put us in a nice light with the community, and I just love seeing all those kids enjoying all the interesting things. And believe it or not, we don't have to vote on this. So we can move on to the next agenda item, which is item H2. For discussion and possible action, approve the proposed lease amendment entered into between Carson Tahoe Executive LLC as tenant and Carson City as the Carson City Airport Authority together as landlord. The amendment will reconfigure the leased area to accommodate a new hangar development plan. And I'd like to ask Corey and Steve to elaborate on the specifics of this.
Okay, so this lease was originally established with Mountain West Aviation in 2008 for the purpose of constructing hangars. It was assigned, you can see the detailed history farther down in this memo. I don't need to go through each item. But ultimately, it was assigned to Carson Tahoe Executive. This proposed amendment will enable the current tenant CTE to build 2 hangars with a revised design that differs from the original site plan. This adjustment aims to enhance functionality and better serve the needs of the airport community. This item, I wanted to be on the discussion because there's a lot of history here. There is an agreement in place to avoid default. This amendment is in support of that agreement to avoid default of this lease and be able to enable them to move forward with construction that'll be both beneficial for the airport and for the tenant. So staff recommends approval, and I am available for any questions. And Steve, do you have anything to add?
Let me just add that the new legal description is set forth in the lease amendment on page, I think it's page 2 of the lease amendment. And the full legal description's there. It's described as being an Exhibit A1 and Exhibit A1. What I've asked CTE to do is, once this is approved, assuming it's approved here at this level, for them to get a record of survey so that we can get a parcel assigned to that. And that may be as simple as simply doing boundary line adjustments or something to their existing parcel to move it into this reallocated shape. But in any event, once they have the APN number and the record of survey, then we can go ahead and submit it to the Board of Supervisors for approval. That's all I wanted to add.
Any questions or comments from the board? No, I would like to add that it's very important to understand that we're not adding or subtracting any square footage. We are just reconfiguring for a more efficient development project. So it makes perfect sense.
I'd like to just verify what Tim just said with you, Corey. I was under of the understanding that there was a minor change in the number of the amount of square footage being leased. Is that correct?
Technically, it's a small reduction that's negligible. And I don't even think it's reflected in the lease itself, but the footprint is slightly less than the previous footprint.
The footprint's the same, but the lease remains the same. So it's kind of irrelevant as far as we're
Yeah,
concerned.
it's
Yes.
irrelevant.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's negligible. Mhm.
Negligible. Okay. Any questions or comments from anybody? If not, I'd like to hear a motion.
Public comment.
Oh, I was looking at the public when I said that. Nothing from the public. Nothing from the board. May I hear a motion?
Yes, Tim. I would move that we approve the proposed lease amendment entered into between Carson Tahoe Executive as tenant and Carson City and the Airport Authority together as landlord.
Okay, seconded by Curtis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion passes. Thank you. From this, we're going to move on to the airport manager's report.
Okay, so this month I've again had multiple meetings with potential developers. There's still significant growing interest in development at the airport, and I will continue to work with any developers that want to move forward. Um, just as the item that we just approved represents, there's a lot of interest in building hangars in Carson. Hopefully, we'll see more action and less talk. So I'm glad to see some action today on hangar development. We are working on a solution to create an access point to the vacant lands south. Well, it's actually southwest. I have southeast here, southwest of the airport terminal building, so that we can put out a resolution of notice to bid for that land. There's a requirement for the airport. We have to be able to provide access to all tenants. So, in order for us to lease that land out to a potential developer, there has to be an access point. So that's something that Steve and I have been working on. Pavement maintenance, airport operations and maintenance are working on the next phase of pavement maintenance. This project is proving to be large in scope, and it may require us to go out to bid in order to execute that portion of the project. And the supervisor of airport operations and maintenance is working on that now. He'll likely be reaching out to our engineering consultant for some assistance with this process. So if you haven't heard that yet, look out for that. Most of the ground lease holders have complied with our request for updated hangar certification forms. I've had multiple meetings with the ground lease holders about this, so there's some confusion. So we've had meetings to clear up that confusion, and for the most part, the ground lease holders are very interested in complying, which will help us get our property management database updated. I already went over the SRE building. There's nothing new there versus what I mentioned earlier. The utilities have been put in place across Taxiway Bravo for the Arrowhead tenant development. Taxiway Bravo was closed for 3 days for that project. The closure was just around the work area, so it did not prevent any aircraft from accessing the airport during that time, or the runway during that time. Work will begin on pavement over there soon, which will also result in a taxiway closure. This will actually be, we just finalized that today. It'll be Saturday, the 19th. The pavement will only have to be closed while they're operating within the safety area. So we will keep that closure as short as possible, and we'll reopen it as soon as any obstructions are free of the safety area. We've been working with the city on updating Title 19 with the changes that were approved by Carson City Airport Authority. Steve Takis will be presenting the item tomorrow morning with the city because I'll be out on vacation, and he's been preparing for that. I attended the Lithium Summit put on by the governor's office. I've met many stakeholders and presenters that are either airport users currently or will be airport users in the future as the mining industry increases in northern Nevada. I was surprised to see I was the only representative from an airport in attendance, because that is going to impact aviation, not just for us, but for all of northern Nevada. It was a very interesting event, and the lithium mining industry looks very promising for the state of Nevada, and so we will see some increasing mining activity and their aviation assets that they're going to bring along with that. Since I met many of them in person, I'm sure they will be thinking about Carson City Airport. I attended a meeting with CareFlight. We discussed their operations and how the airport can assist them. It was actually very informative. We talked a lot about how their communications work. We also discussed how Carson City Search and Rescue and Aero Squadron could better communicate with Care Flight for search and rescue operations in Carson City and surrounding areas. Sorry, this is a long one. It's been a busy month. The annual audit is in progress and it is moving along well. It should be completed soon. And I've worked with board members, members of the community, and the FAA to assist with the development of a handout with guidance on operations at non-towered airports. The fuel flowage fees are here. It was a slight decrease over last year, which makes sense because of the Reno air races no longer bringing that huge influx of traffic to the airport, as well as operations being about 50% less than last year for the same reason. And detailed charts of all those numbers are attached below, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the airport manager? Nothing from the public? Okay. Then we will move on to our legal counsel's report.
I just have one item, and I just want to follow up on it. You know, in kind of the spirit of Murphy's Law, about the time that we got the snowplow delivered to Reno, 3 years after we essentially ordered it and went through that entire process, the FAA selected that project to put a microscope to make sure all the T's were crossed and all the I's were dotted. We met with folks from the FAA, did the research. Corey and I did the research. We came up with all of the elements and could show them from speccing it out. Naturally, there's no doubt that we needed to replace the snowplow, given that we had a 1986 snowplow for which NDOT couldn't even find parts for anymore to help us repair it. From speccing it out to speccing the replacement, which followed all of the FAA aviation circulars as to how big a plow you need for how much time based on how much space and how many operations at the airport, to the use of a co-op buying entity that's used by both the airport and the city for purchase of equipment, and including examining the process that they use to make sure that it also complied with Nevada law as well as the FAA specs. And we went through that entire process and were able to successfully demonstrate to the FAA that everything was done completely by the book. As a result, we'd anticipate no issues at all when we pull down the funds to pay for the snowplow. I just wanted to throw that in because that was a significant amount of work by both Corey and myself.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. That was pretty stressful when we came back to us after all this time and said, hey, you may not be in compliance. Like, really? But we are. Okay. Does anybody on the board have anything they'd like to report? Or oh, no, we have the treasurer's report still. Treasurer report. Treasurer's report.
You can see the numbers in front of you. We're a quarter of the way through our fiscal year. We're in close alignment with our budget, so there are no red flags in there. We also have a significant amount of cash on hand in our general checking account, and after we're positive that the snowplow went the way that our council identified, then we'll make another transfer into the LGIP account so that and keep that moving. So no, you can. Other than that, if there's any questions, I'll take them.
Okay, no questions. Now, is there anything else any of the board members would like to discuss at this time? Well, I would like to welcome Michaela Flint to our board. For all of you in the out there, yeah. Michaela's has got a reputation for being a very professional and very reliable flight instructor at the airport and has been reviewing and participating in what we've been doing as an authority for quite a while now and staying up to date on what's going on at the airport. And we were just thrilled that she was interested in applying for and then selected by the Board of Supervisors. So welcome, Michaela. It's going to be great having you with us. Anything you'd like to say?
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out that button there. Well, thank you for your welcome, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to learn all the stuff I'm going to learn with you guys.
Thanks, Michaela. Anything from the public at all? We still have, oh, we already, yes. The what? Oh, yeah, that's right, John. Thank you. Our member Carl Hutter, who is not with us this evening, has re-upped for another 4 years and has been approved by the Board of Supervisors as well. And he's an integral part of our group. He's a very busy man. He makes most of our meetings, but couldn't be here tonight. So that's also very important for us. Nothing else from the members, nothing from the public. The agenda items for the next regular meeting will be published in a timely fashion. What is it, 5 days before, Corey, typically? Is that what it is?
It's 3 full business days.
3 full business days.
So it
It's
ends
usually
up
over a
being-
weekend, usually, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So with that, I call this meeting adjourned.